Happy Monday and welcome to episode 232 of Motorsports Today, live on TikTok every Monday night from 7 to 8 p.m. and on WRSU.org Fridays from 12 to 1 p.m. Every episode archived on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Find us on the web at motorsportstoday.net. Find us on the socials at Motorsports Today. And every episode is powered by SeatGeek. Use code MTODAY, that's MTODAY, all caps, for $20 off your first purchase at checkout. The full Monday gang back together for the first time since I think before the Daytona 500. Eddie Kalegi, Tim Moore, Tyrell Baker, Adam Tropper's here as well. I'm energized. It was 70 degrees out today in New Jersey. It was light out. The snow's melting. I was off work today. I don't even have to go in till 5 p.m. tomorrow, so I'm working essentially the Adam Tropper morning shift, so that's good. Speaking of, Tropper did not oversleep today, so he has made it. Welcome.
No comment on what may or may not have happened last week, but it is always a pleasure to be on the show, and I am ready for a fun one. We'll leave it at that.
Yes, we have a lot to get to. For the first time this year, first time since August, we had a triple header, NASCAR, INDYCAR, and F1, all in action on the same weekend. I'm going to start with Formula One because I think that's the biggest topic of conversation heading out of this weekend. F1, season opener, Australian Grand Prix, 22 cars on the grid, essentially really 18 competitive cars because Cadillac had its issues in its first race, and Aston Martin, as we've documented the last two episodes, has been nothing short of a disaster this offseason leading up into the season. And honestly, the fact that their car, is particularly Fernando Alonso, lasted as long as he did in the race was a miracle in of itself. But the race happened. George Russell got the win. Mercedes looks like a wagon to start the season. Kimi Antonelli, a really impressive run. Ferrari looked really fast as well, but just not as good as Mercedes. Both Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton very much in the mix throughout the race, ended up third and fourth. Lando Norris had a decent day, not great. Max Verstappen had to come from the back, went 20th to 6th, and ended up getting all the way up front to ultimately win end up in 6th place, so really impressive for him. Oscar Piastri we'll get to in a moment. He did not have that good of a home race, to say the least. But the big storyline were the engine regulations, because everybody was freaking out after practice and qualifying, and you saw the clipping of the engine and with the battery, and that people were not able to go full out and full throttle during qualifying, which kind of defeats the purpose of trying to run the fastest possible lap. But then there was a little bit of a spin in perception when the race actually happened, because for the first time in God knows when, 5 lead changes in the first 8 laps of a Formula One race, where George Russell and Charles Leclerc just kept trading the lead through the first few laps before the first safety car. And even through the rest of the first half of the race, with Lewis Hamilton in the mix as well, there were several overtakes at the front, several lead changes. So much so that Formula One posted a graphic to celebrate it, that there were 120 overtakes this year at Australia compared to 45 a year ago. And the graphic very much resembled a graphic that NASCAR posted a couple years ago talking about the record number of passes and lead changes at Talladega that was produced because of fuel saving. And this is where I have to go off about Formula One. I am not just trying to dunk on F1. I want to preface with this first. I know I am a NASCAR fan at heart, but this is Motorsports Today. I did not want to just do a NASCAR show. I believe all motorsports matter, and I do come from the belief that Formula One is indeed the pinnacle of motorsports. But it is not without its problems. And I acknowledge that NASCAR has several. 2 of the 10 multi-car team owners were quite literally suing the sport and in court against them a couple months ago, and the Phoenix race was a wreckfest. But Formula One has significant problems right now, and it's just like NASCAR. The way they are framing this whole thing about this record number of passes when it's because of a problematic product. NASCAR has all these overtakes at Talladega and lead changes because cars are fuel saving and they're just a push and pull going back and forth. Formula One, the reason why there were all these lead changes was because cars, when they, with the new battery and the new regulations, get out too far, they start super clipping and they can't go full throttle and the car behind them passes them. It's essentially restrictor plate racing in Formula One. And why is this a bigger issue than NASCAR's fuel saving and restrictor plate racing of the past? Because Daytona and Talladega only happen 4 times a year. This is going to be Formula One every single week this season. It's not 10% of the schedule, it's 100% of the schedule. And I don't care if it made the racing more interesting at the front for the first 8 laps. It didn't for the second half of the race, and eventually it's going to get boring. And the fact that Formula One fans, compared to NASCAR fans, seem to be a little more in tune with the mechanization of the car, I'll say it like that, are going to get very tired very quick of manufactured racing. And that is exactly what this product is. So Formula One, as great as it might be, and the elitists think it's so much better than NASCAR, guess what? You have your same problem that NASCAR has had, Tropper, but the problem is now it's going to happen every single week this season unless something gets changed.
And there are a lot of things that F1 is doing, self-inflicted mistakes that can easily stall their momentum. I mean, that's before you even take into account the Apple TV broadcast, which first off, we might go on a tangent here, but I gotta say, the broadcast was incredible. Seeing the in-car cams. I even had some friends that don't watch motorsports at all reach out to me and like, this is awesome. So maybe it helps the younger demographic, but at the same time, behind the paywall. I digress. Going back to the cars, though, itself and just how the racing is, you're absolutely right. It reminds me so much of, I mean, you're comparing apples to oranges, but just how the next gen drives sometimes. Because as you said, the fuel saving, you see so many lead changes. Fox Sports this year, I think it was during this week's race, Mike Joy even said most green flag passes or lead changes, something like that, for the first 4 races of the season in NASCAR history, which is great. But if you look at objectively how that happened, it's because we had 2 restrictor plate or drafting track races where really the cars were just side by side the whole time. And yeah, who's ever at the front of the line at any given point, they're going to be the leader, hence a lead change. So it's kind of that same idea where it's purely manufactured, and yeah, it could be fun to watch. It could be new, could bring some fans in for a couple of weeks. But these F1 purists, and I'm not saying that as if it's a bad thing, but if you're a purist of the sport of the F1 and what it stands for, you're going to get bored real quick, or at least frustrated. And the real question is, we're stuck with that this season. What happens going forward? Because regulations only happen, what, on average, every 4 to 5 years minimum. So there's going to either have to be a lot of conversations in the paddock this year, or the sport just starts to crumble.
Yeah, and let's remember too, unlike other sports, Formula One is the most independent when it comes to car development. It's not spec in the slightest. So that's why changes take so long to actually happen, because for every team to incorporate them in their own individual way is very difficult and takes time. And that's why it's so frustrating when there's build up to a new package, new regulations, and there's such glaring problems. And I know it was entertaining, but I also want to point this out to Tyrell. I don't think it's exclusively because you're including electric power. Because I look at INDYCAR and they pivoted to the hybrid engines. And I know right off the bat, there were major issues. The first race they had the hybrid engine, Scott Dixon's car stalled out during the pace laps. He couldn't even complete a lap. But we watch INDYCAR last year, this year. How often are we even thinking about the battery and the hybrid? Not really at all. The only time it really comes into mind is during Indy 500 qualifying. And honestly, I really liked that last May when there was that added bit of strategy to what was already the best qualifying session in motorsports, in my opinion, about when are you imploring the extra power during a lap. But we don't really think about it that much. When used correctly, electric power with gas power can actually be good. But the way Formula One has it right now is not good at all. And I don't care if we had all these cool lead changes that certain fans are like, oh my gosh, Leclerc and Russell going back and forth. It's only because one car's stalling out and losing momentum in the front.
I'll be honest, as someone that has been watching F1 for about 10 years now, I love Albert Park. I love Australia. It's one of my favorite tracks. I loved it on the video games. I love watching it. But I saw Saturday night / Sunday morning was not really what I enjoyed. Yeah, the lead changes were cool, but I'll be honest with you, this going into the offseason in F1, I was a little bit green. Like I didn't know everything that was going on, right? So I knew DRS was going away, but now I'm seeing the overtake thing and I'm like, what is this? This is like manufactured as heck. Like this is ridiculous. I wasn't a fan of that because now, yes, I understand we had the DRS train, but like the leader gets basically DRS, and so the second place get DRS. It's super manufactured. I hate that. And then I'm watching them go down the straightaway there and into the quick left right. I forgot what those two corners are called. Forgive me. But I'm watching them even before like you get to the corner and actually have to lift like how they did last year. They're braking, not braking, but they're just lifting and like because they have to save battery. This is ridiculous, man. I mean, come on. Like you said, Eddie, this is supposed to be the pinnacle of racing, right? Of motorsports. This is the all be all, the whole shebang, right? And you got guys that have to battery save, and then F1 is like, oh, hey, everyone, don't worry about it. Everything is great. Like, we had this many passes, but as purists like us and fans that are F1 fans for a long time, we know it's manufactured and it's not going to change, unfortunately. I mean, maybe the developers or whatever with the cars and stuff are going to do little changes, but it's not going to change, unfortunately. I really hate to say it.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is, Tim, because I don't know if this is necessarily what Formula One was going for. I know there's been some complaints about quote unquote parade races. And honestly, a package like this, I think would have been cool in spurts at certain tracks. I think of places like Monaco, like Miami, like Saudi Arabia, even though they're not going to have that race probably this year. But those three tracks in particular that, let's be honest, are great spectacles, cool facilities, but produce terrible races because you can't pass. And maybe something like this would have been cool to use on occasion to make the racing a little more interesting. But this cannot be the deal every single week. That's why NASCAR doesn't have drafting and super speedways every single race.
Yeah, and what TCB just said, I think is such a big thing where I'm not trying to compare F1 because I know, for example, I think you consider, and a lot of people consider F1 the pinnacle racing. And I know a lot of people, based on my takes, can assume that I think NASCAR is the superiority in sports. Listen, I'm not an avid F1 watcher. I will sit here and say it, but I think sports are important. But what I view F1 in 2026, NASCAR, for example, you race the track. Yes, there's equipment disparities and so on, but you're racing the track every single week. With what F1 has with this current system and everything, with the adjustments and the cars dying out and the battery and everything, you're racing your equipment. That's all you're doing. You're racing to manage your equipment. And I don't know if that's racing. That's not racing in its simplest form, truthfully. I mean, yes, you can make mistakes, you're racing the track and so on. But I think it was, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Rohan who gave the exact numbers. They're losing in the kilometers. I think it was 50 miles an hour, 50 kilometers per hour down the straightaway when they're all nose to tail. Was that correct?
Yes.
Of what I saw in the tweet. So it almost feels like it's a video game sense. And you know what I'm talking about. We've all played NASCAR Heat 5 or NASCAR 25, where we get this big draft and all of a sudden you jump out and a car in front of you comes to a dead stop. In NASCAR, you can get away with it because you can be physical. My point is with Formula One, and hence why I say it feels like more you're racing equipment than a track, is because you can't be fully physical in F1. One little mistake, your day's done. Literally, there's no repairing cars and so on. You're off the track and you're done for good. So the reason why I say this is concerning for me in general is just it makes you really think what F1's approach was into this year. And it makes you really think what its strategy was with this new car. Because to me, and I don't know if, again, maybe if it makes sense or not, to me, it doesn't feel like their goal was to create better racing. It was just to create better technology. Like, does that seem accurate to you guys?
Yes.
Because like that's again, is F1 a racing series or a technology series?
That's always
because
been my yeah, sorry to interrupt, but that's always been my biggest critique of F1, especially in the days where Max Verstappen was just winning constantly. Once again, you can't deny the driver talent. I mean, that part of racing is inherently there. But when the Red Bull cars were so much better than everyone else, it felt like, I don't know, it just felt like a technological advantage. And if that's what they're advertising themselves to be, if that's what they want to be, that's great. But I feel like it's hard to advertise as a pure racing series when the cars are so far apart. And not every series ever needs to be a spec series. It doesn't need to be like the next gen car, but I feel like they just don't have their identity in that regard for what they want the product to be.
Right, but too, when there's so much money put into this Tropper, I don't want to compare it like this because I know this sounds completely asinine, but it almost feels like the Great American Race or the Great Race to the Moon. Like, really think about it. You're trying to go one-on-one to try to top each other technology-wise and have all these advancements. And to me, it just, again, it feels like F1, they want to have the top tier stuff, but they don't want the top tier racing. They just want to be able to say they have the best stuff and that their owners are the best owners. Everybody that's involved, they're special and spectacular. And it's funny because it's contradictive. And this is what I'll say about this, because you talk about money. Again, there's millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars spent to F1 every single season. And its budgeting is beyond superior of what American Motorsports has between NASCAR and INDYCAR. But it is also ridiculous to this sense that yet here they are spending millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, yet we have cars running out of batteries in its first race and complaining about freaking issues where they're going to have issues with their hands for ligament damage. Like, it's ridiculous because these are supposed to be some of the smartest people in the world. And yet the first race too, we talk about the lead changes. How many cars were left on the lead lap? 6?
Yeah.
Like this was the display of your first race.
It's,
That's also the other thing too. And then the other thing, and this is the thing too, because I don't know if this is getting brought up, Eddie, but I have to bring it up. When drivers are complaining about safety and complaining about their issues, and F1 is shunning them, are you the U.S. government? Like, seriously, this is a joke. It feels like politics. I say this all the time, but it feels like Formula One is politics when you're sitting there saying this is a bad thing. And I said it to Mark Martin when he tweeted about it. I said, you know, it's funny. The same thing was said when NASCAR drivers complained about the next gen when the next gen first came out. It's so bad for the sport. It's a bad look. But all NASCAR drivers wanted to do was get a little adjustment to fix it and make it safer. And ultimately, to NASCAR's credit, while it's not perfect, they have. F1, I don't feel like is going to do that, to TCB's point, which is why it's just, I don't know. Every race this year is going to be comical to some extent because of what they have. And it may make the racing better, I don't know, but it's not racing in its truest form. So I'll leave it with that.
and the last thing I'll say in terms of dunking on F1 is this. I would never have imagined a world, to Tim's point, where they were calling out the drivers, not just that, but from their media team's standpoint, to be spinning things in a PR way that feels very unprofessional and un-F1-like between the graphic that I talked about when this all started, and then another video that was posted on the Formula One socials today to brag about how Franco Colapinto hit 344 kilometers an hour on a lap. But the last 3 seconds of that video are muted. There's no sound. And you want to know why? Because that's when his car started super clipping and he started losing speed. Like, they're trying to cover it up. They know that there is problems here. When Verstappen and Hamilton, who I know Lando Norris just won a championship, the two most important drivers to F1 right now are Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. And when they're both outspoken, ripping their car, the last thing that should be happening is for the head of F1 to be calling out their own drivers. It's a bad look for the series, and they got to figure something out. But I will leave it at that. George Russell wins the race. Mercedes very impressive. Ferrari very fast too. But Tropper, before we switch to Phoenix, there has not been a good history of F1 drivers in their home races over the last few years, whether it's been penalties or crashes or other things. But I don't think it goes quite as bad as Oscar Piastri, because we thought Piastri was in a bad spot when he crashed in the first turn at Baku last year, which ultimately started his tumble where he lost the championship. I did not see a world where he was going to crash before the race even started. And during the warm-up lap, he loses control, and it ends up being a huge hit too. And I mean, for Piastri and for a McLaren team that already just did not have a ton of speed, I'd say much less than the other three constructors, because before Hadjar's car died, he was running in the top 5. Verstappen gained 14 spots in 13 laps. McLaren looked like the worst of the 4 top-tier teams with Lando, and then to top it all off, Oscar Piastri somehow pulls a Scotty Mac, but even worse, in his home race, crashing before the lineup to the line.
That's what I was going to say. Normally I would say I've never seen anything like it, but Scotty Mac last year clearly proved me wrong. But for F1 and for the start of a season, you have so much hype, so much adrenaline and intensity going into it, and for it to be Piastri's home race, no less, I mean, that's going to sting. And really, there's nothing else to say other than, regardless of how much McLaren is actually going to have speed going into this season, Piastri just has to try, and it's going to be so hard as a younger driver who, frankly, just partly choked away a championship last year. He's going to have to somehow push back this disappointment, realize it's only the first race of the season. If there's any time for it to happen, it's now, because there's still up to 23 more races. I say up to because there's a little uncertainty with the schedule, but point is, it is a long season, and Piastri is one of those guys where I do think he is capable of coming back from this. It's just going to be that having that mental fortitude, but he's young. He's still unproven. He choked it away last year. I don't know if he can, and that's going to be the $1 million question this season. And maybe he'll ramp it up by the second half, but is this already a broken season before it started? That is the $1 million question that I think a lot of people are going to want to know. But as of right now, there's nothing else you could say.
Last question on Formula One. Tyrell, thoughts on Ferrari, because they were very fast, and regulations or not, Leclerc and Hamilton both had leads in the first 20 laps. But as the race went on, it was obvious the 2 best cars were Toto Wolff's. It was Russell and it was Antonelli, and then it was the rest of the field. And it almost reminds me a little bit of 2 years ago, where Ferrari was pretty good, and they eliminated a lot of the blunders from 2023, but there was just one team, in that case McLaren, that was significantly better than them in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you asked me this, because this was the thing I was actually watching during the race. I do want to say Ferrari definitely choked not pitting under the VSC.
Yes.
I understand what they were going for. They were going for the one stop. It obviously didn't work because, I mean, Mercedes was just so much faster, and they pit during the VSC. So I think personally they should have covered, and we might have had a little bit of a different story at the end here. Who knows? But I mean, wow, what a turnaround from last year. I don't know if it's the rotating or rotisserie chicken rear wing that they have there for the overtake or whatever that has made them faster. But I mean, to start off this hot, and great for Lewis, honestly, too. I mean, to be able, well, he didn't get the podium, but just outside the podium, I mean, it's great compared to where they were last season. Yeah, hopefully they keep riding this momentum, and also shout out to Mercedes. A great win for George Russell there, and they are just fast out of the gate.
Yeah, we shall see how it shakes out. They're going to be back on track in 6 days in Shanghai for race 2, and we'll see how that track looks with the new regulations. But let's shift to Phoenix, guys. Historic doubleheader weekend, INDYCAR and NASCAR, both on track in the desert, and we'll start with the race on Saturday. And the F1 race was surprising. Like, I did not expect to see what I saw. And that's the same case with INDYCAR, but in a completely different light. I really thought the INDYCAR race at Phoenix was going to be a rough watch, because I watched both Iowa races last year when I was in Chicago, and neither one was that impressive, and there were no fans there, partially because the promotion was just so terrible for the event. And I really thought Phoenix, the most comparable track to that's on the calendar, that it was not going to be good racing. But it was great from the point when qualifying was on edge, and you saw Will Power crash and Rosenquist in practice, and mistakes made by top-tier drivers like the champion that we'll talk about in a second. But when we talk about lead changes and excitement at the front of this race, Tim, there was a lot of that, and it wasn't manufactured. And what shocked me most was that the top groove, which at Media Day that Tropper and Jeffrey and I attended, a lot of the veteran drivers were really concerned, especially the ones like Dixon, Rossi, Newgarden, that had run Phoenix in the past when it used to be on the schedule, didn't think this car was going to be able to run the high lane. And that changed dramatically. And we legitimately, I know Rasmussen had the best car and then ultimately got the damage on the contact with power. And I truly think he probably would have won the race without that. But with him out of the mix, you had like 7-8 drivers with a legitimate chance battling it out. The whole Andretti crew, the Penske unit, Pato O'Ward was charging through the field. You had a lot of passes, and Phoenix proved a really, really good addition to the oval slate for IndyCar.
Yeah, and by the way, who would have thought with there only being like 20 something cars in the mix late that there would be so much lap traffic on a constant basis causing chaos? But I mean, what an entertaining race. And Eddie, I think the reason why too, and I know again, Iowa outside of the fan perspective was a failure just because they didn't really advertise. But I think what makes Phoenix so different from Iowa is it kind of has that flatter banking to it. And I don't want to say Nashville is similar, but it's just in terms of how the pitch is and the banking and everything, it's perfect, I feel, for IndyCar. And you mentioned cars moving up the track. I mean, it showed there late in that race some of the most skilled oval drivers in IndyCar and just trying to find clean air, trying to find that positioning. And to be honest with you, in many ways, at times, it almost felt like a NASCAR race, just with more of a dirty air effect. And I mean, those closing laps, and I mean, by the way, too, a rare mistake from Alex Palou, the early going. Nobody would have thought that would have happened. But for Rasmussen, I know early on, David Malukas led a lot of laps. I'm having a brief. Who was second before Newgarden made the pass? Kirkwood, thank you. Kirkwood was right there too in the mix, throughout the day, and it just felt like, like how do I put it? It felt like the best cars were at the front throughout the day, but the best cars were the ones who were able to manage it in dirty air. And I mean, what a win, by the way, this is for Penske, because after how last year went, like they've needed this start to the season so badly. And I mean, for Newgarden there, just you could tell his tires were the best. He saved tires, used the clean air to his advantage to keep the right front on it. And I mean, he drove an impressive final last 5 laps of that race to go out there and take it away. And obviously, I know Rasmussen was very loose in the late going, which he hadn't been throughout the day. But that's racing sometimes, right? And to me, I know Phoenix in the Cup race was spectacular, but had that late caution that changed it. This was the definition of the most natural race, in my opinion, of the weekend. And it got a very good outcome and winner just because the race was so natural right to the very end. And again, you got to give your props to Newgarden, because that was just for him to pull off in the amount of time in the window. And obviously he had the overcut and the better tires, but for him to still pull off what he did was not easy. And he definitely created something interesting, as well as Pato O'Ward's strategy, by the way, with the massive undercut as well. There was so much throughout the day. So much, but it was a success. And I can't wait. I hope NASCAR and IndyCar do this again with Phoenix in the future, because it delivered. It really did.
Yes, having this crossover, I think, was really good for both series, and it worked out. Phoenix produced entertaining races for both IndyCar and NASCAR. I got my opinions on the NASCAR race. We'll save those for a few minutes from now. Let's continue to button up IndyCar here, Tropper. The thing that Tim pointed out that was shocking was the misstep by Alex Palou. And listen, in some ways, I feel like maybe this is good early in the season to remind himself that, hey, I'm human. I got to lock in if I want to keep this championship defense going on. At the same time, though, I mean, last year he started the season red hot, had a couple bad races in the middle of the year, and then was just fine and still won another championship with ease and clinched it with 2 races left. So I wouldn't worry about Alex Palou, but it was shocking to see that happen so early in the race. I know there were spotters involved. I know Townsend Bell and James Hinchcliffe were like, oh, VK should have backed out at that point. I personally don't think so. He was up there. He had a lane, and Palou just kind of drove up into him. But again, just a reminder, like, of how difficult racing can be. Oscar Piastri has this incredible year in Formula One last year, crashes before a race even starts. Max Verstappen crashes in qualifying. Joey Logano was a literal kamikaze, and he was like the king of Phoenix for several years. And then Alex Palou, maybe the best driver in the world, makes a mistake like this 20 laps into a race.
There's a lot to take in when you put it like that, but really, I mean, Palou, it's we've seen this before with him. I don't remember, or I want to say it was Barber, but correct me if I'm wrong, when he overcorrected. Scott Dixon took the win from him. So, but that was to a lot lesser effect in terms of the detriment that
It
this
was
is going to have on
Mid-Ohio
points.
last year.
Mid-Ohio, thank you. But still, I mean, Polo rarely makes mistakes, but this is only going to make him stronger, quite frankly. And ovals were not his specialty to begin with. So it's hard because I don't want to cut him too much slack because it was a pretty egregious error. But at the same time, maybe there was an issue with the spotting. I really don't know. It's hard to say. Really, the craziest part, though, honestly, it was on the broadcast. I believe they said it was 650 days, something like that. Basically, almost 2 years since Pelot has not actually held the championship lead, which is the even crazier part. But honestly, I don't see if there's any reason for him not to take it back anytime soon. And to your point about VK needing a lift, I could see it going both ways in all honesty because VK, he was kind of squeezing himself into the wall. Maybe it would have been smart to back out. But when you have the momentum with the way the IndyCars, the way that they were driving all weekend and you could build those runs on the outer lane, it made sense for him to keep it full throttle. Pelot, it was just a I would argue a bad block, but he obviously said in his media interview after he didn't even know someone was there. So that's why I said I'm not sure if it's a spotter or crew miscommunication, or maybe Phoenix, just the way how quick it is. Pelot didn't even think there would be someone who was outside.
I'd say
Well, but
too. I'd say too his defense Tropper real quick. It very well could be. I'm not saying it's a spotter issue, but you do have to consider the angle of the corner in which they're coming across. That a spotter, because remember, I believe they're sitting. You can correct me if I'm wrong because you're at the track. The spotters sit down the front stretch, correct?
I
No, in the
think
middle of 3 and 4.
Middle.
I
Oh, they're in the
believe.
middle of 3 and 4. So
Yeah.
even then, though, still the angle of that, if it's coming directly in their face, like that's still going to be a little harder to see as compared to them looking across the track. let's say.
100%, and you're looking basically right on the other end, right at the start finish line. So it's hard to understand the runs and everything. So whether it was a team error, a driver error, regardless, it's going back to what I said at the beginning of this point. Though it's only going to make Pelot stronger, and I honestly don't see how he doesn't still run away with the championship. It just reminds you he's human. It's a little shot in the foot, kind of to remind you that there is still legit competition. You aren't the only one on the track. But I think he's going to be just fine.
I will say, though, the one team that has given him any sort of challenge in the last 3 years was Penske. Now, it was with Will Power in 2024, but it was Penske. And sure, Andretti was great. Sure, Christian Rasmussen deserves his flowers. Ran a great race. He won an oval last year. He outdueled Pelot at an oval last year in Milwaukee. And with the speed he showed in that race, misjudgment with Power. He probably, without that damage, would have won the race. Without that caution, I think certainly would have won the race and will win another oval later this year. Maybe he'll even win the Indy 500. Who knows? But Penske's looking really good, TCB. Last 3 races for Penske, if we carry it back to last year. Finale, they end up 1-2. Joseph Newgarden dominates Nashville, McLaughlin second. St. Pete's, McLaughlin's the best car by far besides Alex Palou, ends up with the big moves at the end on Lundgaard and Kirkwood and ends up in second place. This race, David Malukas on pole for the first time in his career. McLaughlin's quick. Newgarden ends up being the best of the rest, makes the great pass with 7 to go on Kirkwood, wins the race. I still think if it's anybody, it's McLaughlin because Malukas is still inexperienced and makes those mistakes, and Newgarden has not proven to me in at least 3 years that he can be competitive on road courses and street circuits the way he is on ovals. But I look at Scott McLaughlin still, and I just feel like if there's someone who's going to be able to take it to Alex Palou, especially since Palou now is at a bit of a points deficit, albeit early in the season, Penske does feel like they're kind of back. And with Scott McLaughlin, with Tim Cindric on the box, I kind of like the way that things are progressing for Penske.
Yeah, and if you look at just his progression ever since he got an IndyCar, he's been progressing really good and great. I do believe that he's going to be a threat for sure to Palou this season. And I just want to point out real quick also, it's a little bit of a funny point. I was watching IndyCar and I was like, where's Will Power? Where's the 12? And I was like, oh wait, that's right, he's out of the car. But yeah, very strange to not see Will Power in the 12 car. But again, Scott McLaughlin, yeah, he's definitely gonna have a chance to Palou and Newgarden. what a pass to win that race there. I mean, 7 laps ago, what a great pass, and then they end up obviously sweeping the weekend. But Penske boys, I think they're on the come up. I think they're on the way back. You definitely got to watch for Newgarden on the ovals for sure. I mean, like you said, he's not as strong on the road courses and the street courses. That's gonna kind of be Scott McLaughlin's wheelhouse there. So I think, I mean, Palou, like we said, he's like abnormal. He's an alien at this point, but he does make mistakes. But if he doesn't button up those mistakes, those Penske boys are gonna be right there. I mean, he's at their mercy right now, so he's got to really straighten up.
The one problem for the field, next race Arlington, the first of 3 brand new street circuits. And that's Alex Palou's bread and butter, and I would venture to say he's going to be the favorite in all 3 of those races. We'll see how it plays out at Arlington. Before we get to NASCAR, though, I do want to do this week's SeatGeek Diecast of the Week because we're back at it, because, fittingly, I decided to go with an IndyCar. So this is a Scott Dixon number 9 car. I miss when Target used to be a sponsor in NASCAR and IndyCar, but Dixon, the ageless legend, 25 years in IndyCar, still picking things up, putting them down, and running really, really well. I got this car from Five Below like 10 years ago. They used to sell IndyCar diecast there. It's one of the only places
I
I've
remember
ever seen.
that.
Yes, I got this, and I have a Willpower one as well. Problem with this one, I don't know how well you can see it on the stream, and I just dropped the car.
He's DNF'd.
Yep, he DNF'd. Oscar Piastri, my bad. There is no left rear tire. I don't really know when I lost it, but yeah, it's gone.
Happens.
So it is very fitting because you know who else lost a tire last week at St. Pete's? Scott Dixon. So that is our SeatGeek diecast of the week that came from Five Below. I do not know if they still make IndyCar diecasts like this or where they're sold.
I say, by the way, the most memorable paint scheme still of Scott Dixon's career. It's not even
100%.
debatable. It's not even debatable.
100%. Literally, when I think of IndyCar, this is probably the number one.
It's got to be the first car you think of, without a doubt. That and then Tony Kanaan's 7-Eleven car. I don't know why that stands out. It just does. But maybe it's just because it's a New York, New Jersey thing. I don't know.
But the target cars between Dixon and Franchitti always at the front, throughout the years. So shout out Scott Dixon, still doing it a quarter of a century into his career. Nobody really talks about it enough. The fact that he is still as good as he is 25 years in, especially after he almost had a life-ending crash in the Indy 500 10 years ago, that he's still doing this at this level. And now it's the number 2 at Ganassi, but still a top 5 driver in the sport. Shout out to him. But that's IndyCar. Let's get to NASCAR. Tyler Reddick's streak, as we all predicted, came to an end. He still ran pretty well. He ended up in 8th. Bubba Wallace got a 6th. They're the top 2 in points. But Ryan Blaney, who didn't have as good of a 2 super speedway races to start the year as he would have hoped, but then had maybe the best car at COTA for the first 60 laps before it turned into between Reddick and SVG, goes to Phoenix and was great. Now, Joey Logano was fast at the start of the race and was at the front, then kind of lost his mind. We'll get into that in a couple of minutes. The Toyotas showed up. Toyota didn't qualify well, but they certainly raced well. Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, Ty Gibbs, all towards the front. Briscoe, of course, then has the tire issue because for some reason NASCAR ran it back with the same tire package that they had in November when there was a whole bunch of blowouts. And ironically, it was a bunch of the same drivers who had problems in November that had them again. And then the brake rotors came because anytime you go to a track where you have tire burns, Noah Gregson's going to blow out a brake rotor. That's usually what happens. And then people started running over the brake rotor parts and blowing tires. I mean, okay, this is where I just got to say, like, it was an entertaining race for sure. Was it a great race? No, because it turned into a wreck fest. You had all these tire problems. I thought it was entertaining to that extent, but it was also kind of annoying, and the consistent cautions and the restart crashes that were ridiculous that we'll get into in a couple minutes with Logano. But we'll start with the winner, TCB. Ryan Blaney getting it done. Besides Tyler Reddick, obviously he's the only other guy with a win so far this year, but I'd venture to say has been the best all-around driver besides Reddick through the first 4 weeks of the season. He was a popular championship pick amongst our team in our season preview episode, and he's proven it. Blaney, who had a really good second half of last season, has shown up and shown out to start 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look back at Coda, like you said, he was definitely the fastest for the first 60 laps. And then, like you said, SVG and Tyler Reddick battled it out. But nevertheless, I mean, Blaney had terrible pit issues during that entire race. I mean, he went to the back twice, but he passed 49 cars or something to win the race and passed Ty Gibbs, who basically just gave it to him, in my opinion. And then obviously we had the late race yellow, but I mean, man, Blaney, he's really like kicked it up a notch ever since, obviously, since he won the championship. Yes, but I mean, he's just lights out. He's definitely like top five, I think, in my opinion, in the Cup Series right now. And just to drive through the field twice, and yes, we have tire issues, and yes, this is a first oval with the 750 package, and just drive through and basically win the race. I mean, it was very impressive, and I think he's well. I'm not too sure if I don't think I picked him in our as a
There's a
champion.
lot of people. Oh, I'm sorry, champion. I thought you were saying this week. I'm like, there's a lot of people who picked Ryan Blaney this week. My mom roasts me about this weekly, by the way, now, about when every time I do bad with picks. And for me to pick Austin Cindric,
Well, that's your
no
problem.
way.
Picking Austin Cindric to win a race.
Hey,
I
hey,
He was a- he was
both
pretty decent
Newgarden
pick, though.
and Blaney. Just saying, I swept the weekend.
if Joey Logano didn't go as I think, God, I'm probably getting canceled. You probably have to bleep this out, but Osama bin Logano, as what Snack said yesterday. If he didn't do that on the restart, I think Austin Cindric would have been a pretty stout top five pick. He was top five throughout the day.
Yeah, he
Penske
would've.
cars look good,
Yeah.
but no, he just had to die, and so did Anthony Alfredo, who just existed and somehow was on the lead lap after 1,000 cars had tire problems.
I'm sorry, I
go
have
ahead,
to say
TCB.
this. Was that Anthony Alfredo or was that Alex Bowman? I really couldn't tell a difference this week. I mean, they kind of.
It kind of feels, it felt like the same stuff, different.
It was the fastest
Scenario.
Hendrick car for a little bit in the weekend, and then reality set in, and then he got wiped out. I mean, okay, let's talk about that too. I was waiting on Logano, but I cannot hold back anymore. Can we talk about instant karma for a second? Because first of all, both Joey Logano and Ross Chastain diving full bore into the dogleg at the same time is a disaster waiting to happen, and the field found that out. That's not on Chastain, that's on Logano. And on top it all off, Mr., as Michael Mertz calls him, Caution Hocevar was almost in that too, and just barely missed plowing into Joey Logano. But you had the 48 car airborne at Phoenix because of that, and that's 100% on Logano. And then, fittingly 50 laps later, Logano gets wiped out in very similar fashion, except unlike Chastain, Joey was not clear of the 16 car, and then lost control, and then ends up in the wall and ends up wiping out Suarez and Josh Berry, who just cannot catch a break. But bigger picture, Tim, in all seriousness, what I have come to notice with Joey Logano, he is a very talented driver. It reminds me, I was thinking about this, if you do in NBA terms, because you always see those like random bot accounts that are like,
Yeah.
what's this in NBA terms? He's Kevin Durant. He really is, because he has the accolades. Very few people like him. He has his base of fans that like the fact that he does not hold back and will do crazy things. But he also just makes stupid decisions on a lot of different instances. Certainly has the championships, but they're questionable, just like Kevin Durant going to the Warriors to win his rings. But Joey Logano's had his moments through his career, but he gets desperate and he does stupid things. And I've noticed in races where he has one of the fastest cars in the weekend and it starts to slip away, he starts driving boneheaded. And that's what happened in this race. As it went on at the start, Ryan Blaney looked like the better Penske, and then all the Toyotas showed up, and all four Joe Gibbs Racing Toyotas, I'd argue, at that point in the race, had better cars than Joey Logano, and he feels like he has to make desperate moves on restarts, not once but twice, wipes out a total of 8 cars, including himself, between those two wrecks.
Yeah, and I'll say it like this. He's the sport's quote unquote greatest passer for a reason and a sport's greatest defender for a reason. Why? Because I guess you could say when he's put into a spot, he's developed the ability of Ryan Newman times 6. He's just found out the way to wreck cars with it too, rather than just being slow and in the way. And that's just the way to put it. And listen, I agree, by the way, the comparisons to Kevin Durant, That's comical, but it's true. It really is true. You could sit there and you could say about his 3 championships and say, did he earn them? Did he not? I still think he earned them. And I think they're more legitimate than Kevin Durant's. But at the end of the day, the comparisons of the questionable moves and so on. And then he's a great personality beyond that. You see him on TV, you see everything he does. It's very interesting because there's a lot of people who I still don't understand. They hate Joey Logano. But if you see Joey Logano, Joey Logano, the person's a really nice dude. And we've all seen that at the track. Joey Logano, the person, is a really, really good person. But people just see him as a race car driver. And it's funny, though, because on the contrary, you mentioned the 3 people. I mean, yeah. I don't know. Did people hate Ross Chastain when he was doing what he did to Denny? Did people hate Carson Hocevar when he's doing what he's been doing the last 2 years? I don't know. I just think people give hate because it's Joey Logano. I don't know. Do I think it's dumb? Do I think it's bad? Yes. But on the contrary, I still don't think it's as bad as what we've seen people do on a more frequent basis of recent history. So I don't know. That's where I dispute that a little bit.
It's not the levels to certain drivers, like the certain driver of the 21 car in one of the national series, and I'm not talking about Josh Berry. I'll leave it at that. But Josh Berry, by the way, has to have I don't know what the opposite of Jimmy Johnson's golden horseshoe would be, but Josh Berry has that, and I don't know what you would call it. Yeah, it is wrong place, wrong time every single time.
Since stepped in horse manure.
Yeah. Since the first lap of Darlington last summer, Josh Berry has had one of the most miserable 14 race stretches I've ever seen. It makes Alex Bowman's recent stretch look okay. That is how bad the 21 car has been. But shout out to the 12, the former driver of the 21, Ryan Blaney, on picking up the win. Big win for him. Good points day for both Joe Gibbs Racing and Hendrick Motorsports. And now the cut line and the 16 in the field, now that we're 4 races in, starting to look a little more like the chase field that we probably came to expect coming into the year. The one outlier in that, because even though he spun out twice like he typically does in short oval races, Shane Van Gisbergen is just so fast, and he ends up getting all the way up to the top 10, loses.
No, I think he finished 11th.
He finished 11th, but he was in the top 10 with a couple laps left, and then Eric Jones got past him. But he was in the 30s. He was buried. He was lapped, and he comes all the way back. And we're now 4 races in, 3 of them at ovals, and SVG is sitting 5th in points. And I know I have a lot of bad takes on this show, but everybody freaked out on me about a month and a half ago during the NASCAR preview when I said that SVG had a far better chance at making the chase than Connor Zilic. And I know we're only 4 races in, but look where we are right now. I just want to say, things can change, but Shane Van Gisbergen's right now 5th in points. And if this man can figure out ovals to a point where he's at least competitive and he's running in the 10th, 15th range, watch out, because right now that would certainly be enough to make it into the chase and be a legitimate week-to-week contender. And the fact that just 2 years ago he'd never run an oval before, he's just going to keep getting better. So look out for what SVG can do. But
Eddie, to your point, Connor Zilic is down to 34th in standings, 34 out of 35. Because let's be honest, without Alex Bowman.
In defense of Connor Zilic, is it really his fault?
No, it's not his fault.
What is he supposed to do when his car, the right front, and I think his rotor exploded too, if I'm not mistaken, but the right front catches on fire. He got bullied around Dakota. I mean, okay, Atlanta is his fault. He full on drove into the back of the 48 and just arc braked into that. I don't even remember what happened at Daytona, but all I'm saying is most of the situations have not been his fault.
There's no doubt he'll work his way back up to bubble, but the fact that there's a 29 position differential right now is pretty telling. So that's the devil's advocate that I'm giving Eddie credit for.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the devil. It feels like the Kansas City Chiefs with the devil magic being over that everybody would talk about last season. You think about this incredible stretch where Connor Zilic couldn't finish worse than 3rd for 20 weeks, and now reality is set in a little bit in Cup. Is he going to figure it out? Certainly, he's the talented guy, and he's going to figure it out and do so. And he's shown a lot of speed, frankly, the last 2 weeks. But a reminder, Cup Series is difficult. it is very difficult to compete right away, even when you're a top tier prospect like a Ty Gibbs or an Austin Cindric from a couple years ago. And that is why I think a lot of credit needs to be given still to both Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney for their rookie seasons 10 years ago. I know Chase Elliott spun out in the Daytona 500 20 laps in after he won the pole, but they were both very competitive the whole season, their rookie years. And yes, they'd made some starts the year and for Blaney the 2 years before, but it is not easy to jump into the Cup Series from the second tier level. And both of those guys did it to a much better level than a lot of the other prospects that we've seen in recent years. So I just wanted to make that point. But that's our little breakdown of the 3 races. To wrap up this show, we had a lot of fun with it last week because me and TCV clutched up, and somehow I remembered that Johnny Benson was in a Pontiac, and we ended up getting BIFFLE, our game. And now we're going to play it again, and we have Tropper to play as well. So I will throw it to our little game show host who's getting himself all settled over there, Tim Moore.
Yes, sir. So we return back with BIFFLE. And if you missed last week, it is a very simple game, very similar to your Wordles, or I would guess that the best comparison to me is Wordle, if you've ever played that NFL game. And it's as simple as this. First off, you're going to get 1 free guess. You get a max of 6 guesses. You get to pick a driver as your free guess, and we use all 4 series here in BIFFLE. So you have the NASCAR Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, or excuse me, the O'Reilly Series. I'll get that right at some point this year. O'Reilly Series, Truck Series, and the ARCA Menards Series. And you'll find out if the series is correct, if the team is correct, if the manufacturer is correct, and if the number is correct. Otherwise, if it's not correct, you'll get a higher or lower number. And then from beyond that, you'll get 6 guesses to hopefully come up with the correct driver. So who wants to go first is the question, because I know Tropper doesn't want to.
So I'll go, then TCB, then Tropper.
Okay.
One quick question about how it works. Considering Johnny Benson was the answer last week, I assume former drivers are also on the table here?
Okay, so that's only for the hard mode.
Yes,
I want to make that very clear.
So right now, we're doing
first 3, I should have clarified this. So this is the normal mode we are starting with. All 3 of you will each get 1 question. It'll be normal mode. They're all active drivers in the 2026 NASCAR season between all 4 series: Cup, O'Reilly, Truck, and ARCA Menards.
So last week, me and TCB got pretty lucky with getting our series correct on our first guesses, and then we only needed 2 more guesses to get our answers. So we shall see. And then Tropper, you'll go, and then we will do the hard mode again together, because you never know what that could be.
And I want to make this very clear. I do not pick these drivers fully unless the prompts come back wrong. ChatGPT is picking all these answers, so I'm not picking them, if that makes sense. So we will start with the first one. Eddie, I will let you take your free guess.
All right, so I went with the O'Reilly series last week. I'm going to go with trucks to start. I'm going to go with the one, the only, Stephen Malazzi as our first guess.
So my question is, which number? Because he wrote multiple numbers. Is it the 22 or the 2?
We'll go the 22.
Okay, just because I actually don't know.
I forgot he has multiple.
Well, has he made a start this season?
Oh wait, he hasn't made a start this season.
Yeah, so that's the other thing.
Okay, we'll go Frankie
Sorry.
Muniz. Frankie Muniz.
Frankie Muniz. Okay, I'm sorry. Because I'm just thinking about that now.
I forgot Malazzi hasn't started the race
So
yet.
your series is correct.
Yes.
Your team is incorrect.
Okay.
Your manufacturer is correct. Your number's higher than 33.
They're Chevy, right?
Wait, who?
They're Ford. They're Ford, right?
They're Ford. Yeah.
They're Ford.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So then it's got to be probably, well, there's a good chance it's Thor Sports.
So I'm saying, so the manufacturer, just clarify, the manufacturer is correct, the series is correct.
Okay.
The team and the number is higher than 33.
Okay, then I'll go Jake Garcia in the 98.
98. So your team is correct, your series is correct, your manufacturer is correct, your number is lower than 98.
Okay, then I'll go Ty Majeski in the 88.
Your series is correct. Your team is correct. Your manufacturer is correct. Your number is 88. Your driver is
I'm goated at this. I mean, come on.
I played this, by the way. I played hard mode with Riley Ogle for 3 hours last week, and it was so funny. We were going through the seasons. Everybody loves BIFFLE. I'll put it like this. I don't know who has the skills or so on to make games, but if somebody can make this an actual game online, I could play this all day long. Who's going next now?
We'll go TCB.
TCB, okay.
Well, I have gotten so lucky with picking my series.
So TCB, we'll start with your free guess.
I'm gonna go Jesse Love and O'Reilly.
Okay, so your series is incorrect. Your team is incorrect. Your manufacturer is correct. Your number is higher than 2.
That did not give you much.
Damn. All right. I'm gonna go. Manufacturer was correct, right?
Yeah, manufacturer was correct. Everything else was incorrect.
Okay. I'm gonna do William Byron Cup 24.
Your series is incorrect. Your team is
man.
incorrect. Your manufacturer is correct. Your number is higher than 24.
You're gonna get a random ARCA driver.
Oh man. All right. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. I'm gonna go. Oh my God. I'm trying to think who drives.
By the way, that was their
Chevy.
first guess. You have 5 more guesses. That was the first guess that counts against you.
No,
Okay,
by
okay.
this criteria, it could technically be James Hinchcliffe still.
It very well could be, by the way.
Oh,
That's
yeah, it could
that
be,
is a
yeah.
very good point.
Oh, man. Oh my God. I'm trying to think of I'm just drawing a blank on Chevy truck drivers. Okay. I'm gonna just take a shot here. Carson Hocevar in the Truck Series 77.
77. Okay, so the series is correct. The team is incorrect.
Okay.
The manufacturer is correct. Your number is lower than 77. So you now have series and manufacturer correct. Just team and numbers lower than 77.
Jack
But we know
Wood.
it's higher than 24. So just remember that.
Oh, it's higher. Oh,
Higher than 24
Okay,
because
okay,
you had
okay,
William
okay.
Byron in the Cup
Right,
Series.
right. No one heard that answer that I just said. Okay. Oh my God, who else runs a Chevy in the trucks?
Is Jack Wood even running in the Truck Series this year?
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
I'm looking at that. Is he? I actually don't even know.
I'm trying to look at what possible drivers this could even be. Okay, I
I
see.
have an idea. I don't know.
Okay, there's a team that's numbers are in between here.
All right. I'm gonna. So wait. Okay. It's not. Oh man. I'm gonna guess. Oh, what's that guy's name? The Perez guy, Andres Perez. Oh wait, that's the same team. Wait, no. Wait, hold on. Okay,
Honestly,
I'll do that.
Andres is in the. I forget.
44.
44. Is it?
Yeah.
Yes. Obviously, based on my questioning of that, it's obviously not Andres. Series is correct. Your team is incorrect. The manufacturer is correct. Your number is higher than 44.
Oh, so the team's wrong?
The team is wrong.
Oh, so it's not
Okay.
Nice. Okay. That's what I thought.
Okay,
That's what I
my
was
guess
going
would still
for,
be
too.
running. Not saying it.
So lower than 77, higher than 44.
Oh my God.
I'm looking at the
Lauren's
standings right now and trying to figure out who this could possibly be.
lower than 77, higher than 34. Man, you gave me a hard one, Tim.
I will admit this one is pretty hard. If you have a good memory, he may or may not have played a part in this show about a month ago.
Okay, it is who I think it is.
Trying to think who's on the show.
He follows Motorsports Today on Twitter if we're thinking of the same person. And it's not Milan.
That would be correct, by
Yes.
the way.
And it's not John Gruden, who also follows us.
He is a Truck Series winner, by the way.
Imagine if
Not this
Milan-
year. He's a Truck Series winner in his career.
Imagine if
Spencer, wait, is it Spencer Boyd?
Is that an official guess?
Yes, official guess.
Series is correct. Your team, excuse me. Your team is correct. Your manufacturer is correct. Your number is 76. The answer is Spencer Boyd. He's the only one, by the way, to this point of the answers that we've had over the time, that is a quote-unquote part-time, full-time driver. He only ran the first 2 races and didn't run the road course race.
Spencer Boyd has 27 points this season, yet has come up in conversation now twice in the last 3 weeks of the show.
Dude, that was hard as heck.
My original guess was Timmy Hill, actually, in the 56.
So he's a Toyota.
Yeah, but it was either Toyota. Yeah.
Toyota this year?
Yeah. I pulled up the standings and I was like, wait, it's either Spencer Boyd or Nathan Nicholson. I didn't even know who that was, but apparently he ran.
I know Nate Nicholson from iRacing. That's about it.
Okay, my first ever BIFFLE attempt. Let's do this.
All right. So, Tropper, you're going to start off. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. We're good. I'm sorry. I got to fix one thing. Go ahead, Tropper. Take your first guess.
I'm going to go... I'm going to go O'Reilly, LeVar Scott, 45.
Okay. So, your series is incorrect. Your team is incorrect. Your manufacturer is incorrect. Your number is higher than 45.
Tropper, I like that strategy. Going for a middle number. I think you.
I want to make this clear. So Riley Ogle's strategy, or Zach as I call him, his strategy every time when we played hard mode was start with Alex Bowman and go from there.
Makes sense. Okay, let's try. Okay.
And by the way, ChatGPT never rolled Alex Bowman for him, which was really funny.
Let's try trucks. Let's try different manufacturer.
Yeah, remember the number's higher than 45.
Yeah. Is Mosak in a Toyota this year?
No. Yes. No.
Wait.
No, he's in a Chevy.
He's running for. I mean, oh, that's right, Spire. Sorry, I'm thinking last season.
Yeah. Never mind. Okay, Mosak is not a guess. I'm still going trucks, but who's a higher number?
Could be Spencer. Oh, wait, no, Spencer Boyd's a Chevy. Never mind.
Who said manufacturer was incorrect, right?
Yeah, incorrect. So it can only be...
LeVar Scott was running a Chevy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay,
so it can only be Toyota, Ford, or technically Ram.
Oh, wow. I completely forgot about...
Oh, wait. No, yeah, you guessed 650. Yes. So
if it is in the trucks. So I'm going to guess trucks. But if it's higher, then it's not any of the Ram numbers.
That eliminates Ram.
Let's see. Might as well. Honestly, I'm going to guess 4Sport 2. Let's just go with Majeski in the 88. Okay,
so your series is incorrect. Your team is incorrect. Your manufacturer is incorrect. Your number, you said, who was your guess? Majeski?
I said Majeski.
Majeski, so your number is lower than 88.
Okay, so between 45 and 88 in either Cup or ARCA, I'm going to go, and it has to be Toyota, so that means there's only...
It's really only...
Don't tell me it's Corey Heim Cup 67.
Oh, how did you forget the other one?
I don't know. That one came to my mind first. But
how was that the one that came to your mind first?
Because we're talking between 45.
You didn't think of Ty Gibbs?
Oh, 54.
I mean, it could be Corey Heim. I don't know. No, I'm just...
Let's guess with 6-7. Just
okay.
For...
Your series is incorrect.
No.
Your team is incorrect. Your manufacturer is correct. Your number is lower than 67.
Okay, so that means if it's a Toyota in ARCA, Isabella Robusto, 55.
Your series is correct. Your team is correct. Your manufacturer is correct. Your number is 55. Your driver is Isabella Robusto.
Let's go.
So
I'm glad you got that
I'm
one.
surprised. By the way, too, I'm very surprised because last week we got what? A Cup and Xfinity in the first week?
Yeah, because it was
so ironically
Village.
So ironically, this week we got 2 trucks in ARCA, so we got all 4 series in the first 2 goes here. So that's good. Now the hard mode. So you guys are going to work together here. Get 6 total guesses. You get the 1 free guess. Tropper, so you understand the logic. It is a driver from any time in NASCAR's history, but the driver is specific in this scenario to what he drove on that particular year.
So, like, our answer last time was, like, 2002
Johnny Benson. Correct. You don't have to guess the years, but the car number particularly aligns with what
And
he
then we would
drove
just
on
have to
that
put the
year.
pieces together as to which
Yes.
combination.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
Phil's got
ready
the
for this.
book.
I've got the complete
I
history.
have that book in my room too.
I think I have that too.
All right. So you guys
That's
need to work together
ridiculous.
here to come together with what your first guess would be.
I mean, we could work together. This is like a big three.
And and just a
Wow.
reminder, Eddie used the term, it could be anything. It could be a Tesla, literally, is what he said last episode. It could go all the way down to the old days of the Oldsmobile and everything.
That's
so
why I
any
got this book out.
manufacturer is not off the table.
Okay. So what series do we want to start with? Cup has the most to work with.
I
But
think we got to go Cup first. Just
Yeah.
to rule it out. So I'm thinking something down the middle. I honestly like Bowman is good, but there's less numbers in the 50s plus. I feel like going with like a 40. Like not like that,
Oh.
like a high 40, like a regular 40, like Sterling Marlin.
Sir Malone, yeah, that's a
Just to
great
roll
guess.
something out,
or
but,
what about one of the petties? Like because that's
did that last
41 to
time.
43.
I think Sterling is a good
but I also
benchmark.
maybe, or we get rid of a Chevy because Chevy is also the most common. So like if we go like Kurt Busch, what if we go like Kurt Busch 41 Chevy? I feel like that's like down the middle. We get rid of Chevy. We do Cup.
Oh, you're right. I forgot.
Before they
Straw Hotz
switched
ran
it.
Chevy
Yeah,
for a year.
yeah.
So I
All
like
right.
that.
Timothy,
Okay.
Kurt Busch,
So here's your
41
free guess.
Chevy. So I guess like 2014, 2016 doesn't matter, but 41 Chevy Kurt Busch Cup.
So your series is incorrect.
Oh God.
Your team is incorrect. Your manufacturer is incorrect. Your number is lower than 41.
So that's good. Lower than 41.
He trimmed
and
out
it's
half of
not a Chevy.
NASCAR's complete history. So
That's huge.
And I want to clarify, if
That's
you guys can
huge.
give me the number when you guys are trying to put it together, I would also appreciate that because that makes it easier.
yeah.
So should we just go down the list? Go O'Reilly next because that is the next most to work with,
Yeah. We might as
Yeah.
well.
and below 41. So and it has to be for O'Reilly. I guess it could be Dodge, Toyota, or Ford.
Yeah.
Are there any others from early in like the 80s?
I
Wait,
don't
we
know.
were-
But
we were
I think
wrong
we
on
gotta
Chevy, right?
Yeah, we're done
Yeah.
with Chevy. So I think we got to rule out like
Was Pontiac ever
Common.
in Bush? Like in the early days of Bush?
I feel like we should rule out the common manufacturers before we start thinking
Okay.
crazy.
I think
Um,
Ford's probably next because Toyota hasn't been in the series that long. I
Yeah.
think we should guess a Ford.
I'd say probably we should go like halfway in between the bottom and that number two.
Mhm.
Because Tim, you said it's lower than 41, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So what about
Maybe
like 28 Kyle Sieg when they were still Fords?
Yeah, or
something
even
like that.
lower.
Yeah.
Or like 22, like
Oh yeah,
Brad,
the 22 is
Cindric,
actually a better one, I
Logano,
think.
something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. That's-
Sure. Let's just roll with that. Give me Tim. Give me 22. Brad Keselowski Ford in the O'Reilly series.
I thought he only raced when it was a Dodge.
Okay, then
Is
we'll
it a
go
Ford?
Austin Cindric, Ford 22.
Ford. Okay, because I could be
There
wrong.
you go.
I very
Okay.
well could be wrong for the record. So you're gonna settle with Cindric in the 22, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So your driver is obviously incorrect. Your series is incorrect. Your team is incorrect. Your manufacturer is incorrect. Your driver's number is lower than 22.
I got an idea. Let's guess like a single digit number. Now let's go truck. I was thinking maybe Mike Skinner in the 5.
I like that.
Was he a Toyota though? Because now we know it's not Chevy or Ford.
Yeah,
Well-
let's do Toyota to knock it out.
Yep.
Do you know what manufacturer Mike Skinner was then?
Yeah,
That
he was
year?
a 5.
It was Toyota. I
That's why I
remember
was-
that in the video game.
So I think so. That's a great guess then.
Yep.
So we're going with Skinner.
yes.
Yep.
So your series is correct. Your
Okay.
team is incorrect. Your manufacturer is incorrect. Your number is lower than 5.
Okay, so it's a Dodge that was lower than 5.
Who drove? There's a Dodge one truck, wasn't there? Or Ford? Wait, Bobby Hamilton.
Yes.
Wait, yes, let's do
Yes.
it.
You know it?
Let's roll.
Dodge.
Your series is correct. Your team is correct. Your manufacturer is correct. Your number is 4. This is 2004 Bobby Hamilton.
Let's
No,
go.
that's why you whip out the book.
Yeah,
You
baby.
didn't even need it. You studied
Wow.
it.
Didn't even
before.
need it.
You had your notes. It was an open note exam. You didn't even need it. Let's go.
This was, by the way, the last season before he switched to the 04 truck. This was, I believe, the year right after he jumped to the truck series because actually maybe in the second year because he went from Cup in the 55 to then running for his own truck team. So good little knowledge there. But wow, you guys nailed it. I thought for a second you guys were going to go a different direction. Truthfully, I thought you guys weren't going to get that.
I'll admit, I would not have guessed Bobby Hamilton. I mean, GG.
Yeah.
Very underrated
Good
looking
stuff
car,
there.
by the way. That car looked very good.
So that was electric. I want to finish quickly. I want to just rip through a couple of tweets of the week. Obviously, the biggest one was the F1 one from earlier, but a couple of good F1 tweets. There's been this whole story going around. I mean, we know that the 2 races in Qatar and Bahrain are probably going to get canceled, but there's one fan who claims they were on a plane with Isaac Hadjar and Kimi Antonelli and heard them talking about how the races are going to get canceled. So that is just very funny if that's indeed the way it got leaked, number one. Number two, there's this tweet. If nobody really saw, a couple weeks ago, George Russell's girlfriend, who's from Spain, had to get appendix surgery, and he obviously won the Australian Grand Prix. If you remember 2 years ago, Carlos Sainz won the Australian Grand Prix and then had to get his appendix out. So there's this tweet with the 2 side-by-side pictures of George Russell's girlfriend and Carlos Sainz in bed. Pause, not like that, but in a hospital bed.
Well,
in hospital beds, and it says, to win Australia, a Spanish appendix must be sacrificed. So, I thought that was funny, without me adding to it like that.
So
who lost her appendix? George Russell or his girlfriend?
George Russell's Spanish girlfriend. And
okay.
And then he won the Australian Grand Prix. And then Sainz a couple years ago had to get his appendix out and then won the Australian Grand Prix. So everybody's saying that a Spanish appendix has to be sacrificed to win the Australian Grand Prix. That was the part that was supposed to be funny about that, not me.
Not the bad part?
I don't know if this one was on the list, but we have to talk about how ARCA completely ratioed Rutgers. What was that?
Yeah, thank you. I forgot that. What was that about?
That was crazy. For those who don't know, ARCA on Thursday night pushed back the start of the Rutgers Michigan State basketball game on FS1. And there was one comment that, and I'm not going to use expletives, but it was just along the lines of turn this you-know-what off for college basketball. ARCA literally responds, quote, "It's Rutgers, calm down."
I know. And then the first 10 minutes of the game had to be stuck on Fox Sports 2. I am probably one of the only people in the entire country who went split screen with FS1 and FS2 with the end of the ARCA race and Rutgers, Michigan State. But that's just me. But yeah, I was like, why? That's why I used the 50 Cent meme that apparently Tropper had never seen before. I was like, why Rutgers? Why are we getting called out? Hence why
Sports media entity from Rutgers. I mean, come on, we had to prove our point.
Now we know what it felt like when the Clash got moved and there was freaking bowling double overtime. I still have that meme somewhere where the guy's like, "Please, for the love of God, please, no!" Like, I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Damn! It's just like, oh my God. I understand the frustration, but I also say this too. Maybe the race would have been done a lot sooner if Taylor Reimer could figure out where the brake pedal was. But that's just me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It also frustrates me that she is the one out of that relationship that was racing at Phoenix and not Corey Heim, and that Corey Heim has not been in a car for 2 weeks. But I will digress on that. 6 NASCAR races in the last 2 weeks, and he hasn't raced.
Not sure if it's a tweet of a week worthy, but we never mentioned they did announce the course layout for Washington.
I'm saving that for Friday because
just making sure.
Yes,
so get your hopes up for Friday's show.
Yes, we will have that on Friday's show for sure. But that's going to do it for a very action-packed Monday night episode of Motorsports Today. Reminder, as always, you can follow us on the socials at Motorsports Today. Find us on the web at motorsportstoday.net for our race recap articles. Another triple header weekend is coming up at Arlington, Las Vegas, and the Chinese Grand Prix, and we will get you set for all of that Friday at 12 o'clock p.m. For Tim Moore, Tyrell Baker, and Adam Tropper, I'm Eddie Kalegi, signing off of this episode of Motorsports Today. We'll talk to you again on Friday.